Good afternoon. Still morning. Good morning. We are continuing with our proportions. Today we're doing PO32. I can solve a proportion using equivalency and cross products. Those are things that we talked about yesterday on how to prove those from yesterday. So we're just continuing with that. So up until now, your work with ratios and rates has been primarily with values that work out evenly. That is, you can use equivalency, equivalent fractions, to solve them. So we talked about that yesterday, multiplying your numerator and denominator by the same number, dividing by the same number. This objective will focus on proportions that do not have a whole number scale factor. Hooray for cross products. So we started using those yesterday. We learned about them yesterday. We're going to work a lot with them today. Solve each proportion using cross products. Show your work. Round decimal answers to the nearest tenth. But note, when there is more than one term in a part of a fraction, see numbers 3 and 4 below, you are going to need to use parentheses and the distributive property. Ooh, goodness, Mr. Schultz is making this complicated. So let's see how we do this. Oops. Forget. With this one, I have to do it over here. So, who remembers how we do cross products? Izzy?
You multiply diagonally.
Yeah, you're multiplying diagonally. So we would do 13 times 30. And then we have here 12 times n. So what is 13 times 30? 390. So how do I figure out what my n is? If I know 13 times 30 is 390, how could I figure out n? What do we know about our cross products? What do you think, Briggs?
You could divide 390 divided by 12.
Why would that work?
Because if we divided, then it would show n.
Because we knew that cross products should be equal if it's a proportion. So what 12n equals is the same as 13 times 30, right? They're supposed to be equal to each other. So if we know 13 times 30 is 390, to get n by itself, we need to divide by 12. So what's 390 divided by 12?
32.5.
32.5. So we knew one cross product right away, but we need to remember when we multiply by cross products, they equal each other. So plug in the numbers that we know. We knew 12 times n equals 13 times 30. So we figured that out, and then we solved for n. So let's look at our next one. How would I set up my equation? Caitlin?
15 times 8.
Equals what?
120.
Nope. I want to set up my equation. So before we do the math, let's just write out our equation.
And then,
Because we know 15 times 8, it's going to equal what?
what goes?
21n. Right? Now we do the math. 15 times 8 was what, did you say? Equals 21n. How do I solve for n, Molly?
We have to divide by 2.
Nope.
Or 21, I mean.
So instead of paying attention to Maddie, pay attention to me. Okay? So we're going to divide by 21. So what does my n equal? 120 divided by 21, Maddie.
10. No, Oh, sorry, 100. No.
You actually have to do the math. It's not easy to figure it out
I
mental
thought
math.
it was 200.
I know you were thinking it was 210, but it's not. It's 120. So be careful. Who did the math? Izzy? 5.71.
He said round to the nearest 10.
He did say round to the nearest tenth, and then he didn't round it. So you could put n equals 5.7. All right. So our next one. How am I going to write my equation, Andrea?
Okay, so first we gotta figure out what the 15n is. So we do the consequence.
So we want to write out, because remember, first we're not solving anything. We're just writing the equation. So what's my equation going to look like, Andrea? 10 times 27
Equals 15n.
equals 15n. So we do the math. 10 times 27 is 270. That equals 15n. Now I want to get the n by itself. So what do I have to do, Andrea?
You gotta divide 270 by 15.
Just 270 I divide by 15? How do I get n alone? I have to divide 15 by 15. So we have to do it on both sides of that equal sign. So 15 divided by 15 is that 1, so I'm left with just my n. 270 divided by 15 gives us our 18. How do I set up my next equation, Finn?
18 times 88
Yeah.
equals 33 times n.
Yes. Because we're doing those cross products. So 18 times 88 gives me 1,584 equals 33n. What do I have to do next, Finn?
Divide it by 33.
Yeah, divide both sides by 33. Because we want n by itself, so we have to divide both sides. And if I divide both sides by 33, I get n equals 48. So when Mr. Schultz put this little up here, he left me a little note in the manual saying he took those out. So did you guys have this little note in your binder?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can cross that off because he took that out of this objective. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay. So don't worry about what he was saying there about parentheses and distributive property. All right, your famous gravy recipe. Have you noticed a lot of my questions have to do with food?
Yeah.
That says a lot about Mr. Schultz. He can feed 6 people. How many batches will you need to make in order to have enough for all 27 people coming to Thanksgiving? How should I set this up? How would I set up my proportions? What do you think, Maddie?
27 over 6. Or sorry, I was thinking of fraction.
So with this one, we're not finding the rate. So we're just finding, I would just put it in order. So one gravy recipe feeds 6 people. That equals, it equals what? I know there's 27 people. So if that was 6 people, we want to put the people with the people, right? Do we know how many batches we need? We don't know that. That's where our n goes. So now we can do that cross multiplying. So we would do 1 times 27 equals 6n. So 1 times 27 we know is 27. Then divide by 6. 27 divided by 6 is 4.5, right? So we would need 4.5 batches. Andrea?
We would need 4.5 batches, but you always want to have extra, so we could just have 5 batches.
So the question was, how much do we need? So if you put 5 batches, would it be right or wrong? At my house, if we're talking food, we always make extra because we don't want anybody to go hungry. But this isn't my house. This is Mr. Schultz's house, and he wants the exact amount. So we want exact numbers. We don't say, oh, but you should always have extra. So go for the 5. Okay, we want to make sure we're precise with the math. Let's look at our next one. 8 grapefruits, again with the food, Mr. Schultz. The cost is $6.32. How much will 13 grapefruits cost? How should I set this up? Izzy?
8 over 632 equal to 13.
And then we have to do our cross products.
Wait.
8n equals 6.32 times our 13. So what is $6.32 times 13?
82.16.
What is it?
82.16.
That is expensive.
So then we want to divide each side by 8. Right? So $82.16 divided by 8 should give us $10.27. Goal.
I did it a different way. And I got the same answer. I divided 8. I divided 8 by $6.32.
Uh-huh.
And then, so that would equal 79 cents each. And then,
I see where you're going, Cole. I want us to practice using the cross products because we're trying to work on being comfortable with those cross products. With that, we are going to stop with the lesson portion. Oh, stop moving. Friends, I am recording. Sit down. So thank you to those of you who are being polite and respectful to our friends that are going to be watching at home. We will say goodbye to our friends at home and wish them a wonderful day.